Fox 61 News at 10 starts now.
Right now at 10, the city of Bristol in mourning. 2 police officers killed, another injured in a senseless shooting. Our live team coverage continues as we honor those officers.
Also ahead, a man is fighting for his life in critical condition after a shooting in one Connecticut city. We're going to have the details.
And an employee at Yale's medical school is sentenced after pleading guilty in a $40 million electronic scam. And we begin tonight as the city of Bristol is mourning the shooting deaths of 2 police officers. Police say Sergeant Dustin DeMonte and Officer Alex Hamzy were shot and killed while responding to a reported domestic disturbance between 2 siblings. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Brent Harden.
And I'm Jen Bernstein. On a very difficult night here in Connecticut, we do appreciate you joining us. We are breaking down what we know about the deaths of these officers and the devastating loss being felt in Bristol and beyond. We have live team coverage tonight with Fox 61's DeAndrea Turner and Carmen Chow in Bristol to tell us how those officers are being remembered.
First, though, let's go to Sarah Sanchez, who is live in our newsroom now with what we know about the shooting tonight. Sarah.
Well, right now, state police are investigating the shooting that killed 2 officers and seriously injured a third, while the Bristol Police Department deals with an immeasurable loss. A tragic night for the Bristol police. Just after 10:30 Wednesday night, officers responded to a 911 call for a domestic dispute between 2 brothers.
When officers arrived, they were immediately met with a suspect outside of 310 Redstone Hill Road. Shots were fired.
Fox 61 obtaining this video from a nearby neighbor. You could hear the shots being fired. In that shootout, 3 officers were wounded. 8-year Bristol police veteran Officer Alex Hamzy died on the scene. Sergeant Dustin DeMonte, a more than 10-year veteran of the force, was taken to Bristol Hospital, where he later died.
Do you believe this was an ambush of your officers?
You know, we're trying to figure all that out. There's certainly a lot of questions that we have, and we're going to get the answer to.
Another officer, Alex Iorato, was released from St. Francis Hospital after undergoing surgery for serious gunshot wounds.
I hope when you see your policeman, woman on the street corner, you go up and say thank you for what you do. I hope you show a little respect for the folks that are there. And I hope you remember that every day they're putting their lives on the line to keep you safe.
Processions of first responders escort the bodies of the fallen officers to the medical examiner's office. Bristol police officers were walking behind them.
It was incredibly moving. We are suffering as a police department, as a community. And when we have events like this, we all need each other and we need a lot of support.
And the suspect, 35-year-old Nick Brutcher, was killed by police. His brother Nathan Brutcher was hospitalized. We're also seeing how Bristol is honoring the 3 officers killed or injured in the shooting. Fox 61's DeAndrea Turner picks up our live team coverage in Bristol tonight and showing us how they're doing that. DeAndrea.
Well, Sarah, tonight this community, they're mourning the loss of these 2 officers, but they're also hurt. They're devastated. They're heartbroken. They're confused as to how this happened in the town that they call home. And as you can see behind me, this scene, it's a dreary contrast to what was happening last night. Actually, the last remaining officers who were on scene, they just left a few minutes ago. People who live in the town of Bristol know it better as
such a big little town.
Right now, residents and neighbors are dealing with something that has never happened in this community in their lifetime. The death of 2 police officers, Sergeant Dustin DeMonte and Officer Alex Hamzy, who were shot and killed, and Officer Alex Iorato, who was shot and seriously injured.
It's the first vigil I've ever been to in my life.
Hundreds of people filled the seats of Bristol Eastern High School auditorium to pay their respects for the 2 men who were fathers, brothers, sons, and community members.
Alex joined the police force because he wanted to help people. And to have him murdered, he was murdered. To have him murdered is just devastating.
The 911 call the officers responded to about a dispute between 2 siblings was allegedly to lure the police to the scene, according to state police.
Bristol's got a active officer-involved shooting.
They showed up. They answered a call for service.
They thought they were going somewhere to give help. And their lives were needlessly taken and another seriously injured.
The act of violence.
It's not fair.
Shaking community members to their core.
That's scary to happen here. And like, again, we're a big little town. You know, you don't think that something like that could happen here.
But in the midst of tragedy, hurt, and confusion lies the core of this town, the community.
Tragedy, you know, is here, but you know what? So are we. We're stronger than that.
This community is behind them 100%.
And while words are hard to describe this community's grief, their actions and their turnout to honor the fallen brothers in blue prove that they are a mighty community in a small town.
They're heroes. They're heroes. And that's what we need to remember them as.
And you guys, the Bristol Police Union, they started a Bristol Police Hero Fund to support the families of the men who have fallen. And we will have more information about that on our website at fox61.com. For now, here in Bristol, DeAndrea Turner, Fox 61 News.
All right, thank you very much, DeAndrea. And as Bristol mourns the deaths of Sergeant DeMonte and Officer Hamzy, the city is finding ways to show their support as well. Fox 61's Carmen Chow live outside of Bristol's police headquarters to tell us about it. Carmen.
We're shattered, we're crushed, but we're not destroyed.
Lori Osenkowski and her husband Rob are Bristol residents on Rosewood Drive. Every year they come up with extravagant Halloween displays with spooky colored lights. But this year they knew it had to be something else. The entire home decked out with 10 feet tall skeletons, blue lights, and a computer-generated scrolling sign of the three officers' names: Sergeant Dustin DeMonte, Officer Alex Hamzy, and Alec Iarato.
I mean, this is just another reason to get together and, you know, in the memory of these officers that put their lives on the line each day for us.
Lori says she knew Officer Hamzy personally and woke up to the tragic news this morning, a pain she's still trying to digest.
And if you knew Officer Hamzy, you knew Officer Hamzy. He was there for whenever somebody needed anything at all. He was there, and we know he's around.
As for Sergeant DeMonte, former students of Green Hill School will never forget him as a jokester.
He was very sweet, and he was always like nice and, you know, greeting us and, you know, like fist bumping us, high-fiving. You know, he was a very people person.
The color blue was seen all over the town of Bristol, even at local businesses. These lights were wrapped around the trees outside of Max Pizza 4 on Middle Street. Right across from them was Uncle Sam's Restaurant, a place the officers frequented for lunch and dinner on and off the clock. Their workers put up these blue posters in the shape of hearts, and the chefs have been cooking fresh food to be delivered to the police department.
When they're here, they were people. They weren't like police officers, they were just natural, regular people.
Kay says this table in the corner will forever hold a special place in their hearts, a table they always sat at.
It's just a sad, sad, sad situation. Just should have never unfolded like that.
Bristol really putting its arms around this department right now. That was our Carmen Chow reporting. We will have continuing coverage on Fox 61 as we honor and remember these officers killed in Bristol. We have more on the lives of these officers, the timeline of the situation that unfolded last night, and how people around the state are remembering our fallen heroes here. You can get more on fox61.com, the Fox 61 News app, and on Fox 61 Plus.
And we are following breaking news tonight in North Carolina, where another city is grieving after a deadly mass shooting. The city of Raleigh says 5 people are dead and 2 others injured after that shooting. Among the victims, an off-duty Raleigh police officer. Police have the suspect in custody after an hours-long standoff. All right, stepping aside, turning now to the weather and a night of heavy rainfall out there.
Chief Meteorologist Rachel Frank joining us. Rach.
It is a super soaker out there, and we are just getting started. A flood watch has been posted for 1 to as much as 3 inches of rain that will fall overnight into early Friday morning. And there could even be some higher amounts than that in eastern Connecticut. We have a cold front that's coming in, but at the same time, an area of low pressure also riding to the north. So these are going to kind of merge, which is one of the reasons why it will be so wet and even windy. But this kind of fire hose of moisture coming in from the south. Whenever we see setups like that, we know it's a recipe for getting a lot of rain. So not only the rain, but also a few rumbles of thunder can't be ruled out. So the sounds of the rainforest tonight. Southeast winds are going to be picking up as we head through the overnight hours, and we could see gusts between 30 to 40 miles per hour. Maybe even higher in southeastern Connecticut. The result is some clogged storm drains with all the leaves that are falling. Also, with leaves that are wet on the ground, it can make things a little bit more slippery. Some poor drainage flooding, maybe river flooding in some of the areas that get the higher totals, and maybe some isolated outages too, although there is a better chance for seeing a few outages in southeastern Connecticut. This is where gusts could be higher than the rest of the state, perhaps exceeding 40 miles per hour. So as we head towards daybreak tomorrow, a few lingering showers are still out there, even some heavier downpours in eastern Connecticut. Then we'll get the rain out of here. Clouds will break for sun. We'll show you where we go from here coming up.
Now at 10, Hartford police say a man is in critical condition and fighting for his life tonight after being shot this afternoon on Park Street. It's just the latest incident of gun violence in that area of the city. Police say a man in his 30s was brought to the hospital. That man has not been publicly identified, and police have not released any information about a suspect at this point.
And new at 10, a former Yale Medical School official will spend more than 9 years in prison for a $40 million electronic scam. 43-year-old Jamie Petrone from Georgia pleaded guilty to 2 charges back in March. Connecticut's U.S. attorney says she used her position to order millions of dollars worth of computers and other electronics before reselling them. Officials say Petrone used the money to pay for luxury cars, real estate, and traveling.